Good afternoon, and welcome to the USDA Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging's Monday Seminar Series. Before introducing today's speaker, let me remind you to ask your questions for our speaker using the Q&A icon located on the webinar toolbar. I encourage you to add your questions as they arise during the presentation. Let me now welcome today's speaker, Dr. Stephen Sodeke. Dr. Sodeke is resident bioethicist and professor of bioethics and allied health sciences at the Tuskegee University Center for Biomedical Research. He received a Doctor of Bioethics degree from Loyola University of Chicago and a PhD in curriculum and instruction in allied health education, supervision, and administration from the University of Florida. He currently chairs the Tuskegee University IRB and serves as a bioethicist for several projects and institutes, including the Alabama Genomic Health Initiative and the Southern All of Us Research Network. He is the lead bioethicist for the U52 Morehouse School of Medicine, Tuskegee University, and University of Alabama Birmingham Comprehensive Cancer Center Partnership. He also serves as a resource expert for the NGO Bioethics Beyond Borders. His research covers a broad range of bioethics issues, including, among others, research in healthcare ethics, ethical issues in clinical trials, health and human rights, health disparities, and health equity research with vulnerable populations worldwide. Today, Dr. Sodeke will discuss some of his research on ethical issues in clinical trials in a presentation titled "The Bioethics of Participation of Historically Skeptical Populations in Clinical Trials, Essential Thoughts for Human Nutrition." And with that, I will turn the microphone over to Dr. Sodeke.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jake. I'm trying to find my cursor here, which I think is somewhere. I am very pleased to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you. I want to say thank you to Dr. Sarah Booth, the Center Director for the NIH Nutrition for Precision Health Initiative. My thanks also goes to Ms. Peggy Connolly, who is the Director of Strategic Engagement and Community Outreach. I am pleased to be in this space because it feels comfortable, although I must warn you ahead of time that this may be some difficult conversation for those of you that haven't seen some of the reasons why, after we have checked off institutional review board review and approval, we have checked off scientific merit for the proposal, we have checked off scientific integrity, and now what? And now we got to go to do the research, and then we're wondering why, for heaven's sake, are people not joining or clamoring to join the clinical trials? I have a few slides here that I want to use to manage this conversation. I know of the rigor and the excellence embedded in tough universities' way of doing things. I know the institutional review board over there are very, very strict and very meticulous in the way they do things. And so I've suggested a few references that I found helpful as I try to get ready for this presentation. And I just want to offer them to you. My work at Tuskegee University is supported in part by grants from NIH, NIMHD, RCMI, AGHI. I want you to know that the opinion that I offer here in this presentation is solely mine. It does not necessarily represent the views of Tuskegee University or any others of these entities that I've listed there. Other than that, I have nothing else to disclose. So let's proceed. We got a significant problem, and that problem has to do with the underrepresentation of certain demographic groups in clinical trials. This is concerning, and it's because of the disparities in participation rates among racial, ethnic, socioeconomic age groups, which is leading us to grope for effective strategies to not only recruit, but to recruit to retain these groups into clinical trials. Because we want to ensure diverse participation so that we can generalize trial results, improve drug safety and efficacy across population, and indeed fashion a more equitable and better healthcare as possible. This is possible, but I say we must identify and intentionally address the process and systemic issues that tend to truncate our efforts as we try to recruit and retain folks for clinical trials. So there is a bit of a roadmap here. I thought we will cover three things. I'd like to introduce a broad idea of bioethics. I am a bioethicist, so that's a point of view from which I'm going to be speaking. I'm going to suggest that we look at this discussion using this approach. The approach is called integrative bioethics, and you will see that in just a little bit. I'd like to highlight the challenges to participation in clinical trials, and then I want to use 4 paradigmatic cases to explain the historical and systemic reasons for the mistrust and skepticism of people who were trying to recruit into clinical trials. I also want to explore the demands of ethical clinical research and participation. For many of you, this may not be new. I want to discuss the strategies for successful recruitment of historically underrepresented groups. And then perhaps we can glean some take-home messages with a suggested framework for nutrition research. Well, so there you have it. And that's where we're going to go from here. Excuse me. So bioethics is an evolving concept. It's an evolving discipline. And over the years, we have had to use some of the definitions on your screen to get an idea of what this thing called bioethics is. You will see what Van Rensselaer Porter had to say about it in 1970. The first 2 definitions there are the general definition from any dictionary. Then Gorowitz in 1977 gave us that definition. Then in 2003, the President's Commission on Bioethics defined it as ethics in the service of the bios, in the service of life, all life, not just human, but animal and human life as well. And when we say human life, we actually mean life that is lived fully, not just physiologically, but socially, politically, economically, and yes, culturally and spiritually as well. We have spent quite a bit of time trying to wrestle with what's the best way to actually look at, because there is something in the definition of a thing that we're trying to get hold of or grapple with. So should one say all of the above or none of the above? Well, certainly you want to say all of the above and more, because bioethics is evolving and it is still evolving. And so we will evolve with it. But for the purpose of this conversation, I want us to think about the fact that bioethics can be defined as a discipline that identifies, help us to determine the rightness or wrongness of actions in life activities and on being, and the morally responsible thing to do about them. Here's a schematic diagram that I put together over the years. The idea of bioethics, as I've just stated, involves identifying and addressing, you may call it ethical, social, religious, and legal issues that may arise from medicine, research, public health, environmental health, nature science, and yes, technology. AI is with us now, and so is the Internet of Things, right? So if you can construe or bioethics as an umbrella terminology, then we will be on the same wavelength here. About almost, let's see, 2012, I introduced the idea of integrative bioethics in the literature. It is the sense in which, yes, we are great in science. We love scientific breakthroughs. We are great in techniques. We like to figure how things work. But none of these occurs in a vacuum. It actually all occurs in an ecosystems and systems that dictate some of the reasons why we act the way we act, and supported by social, logical, cultural, economic, legal, religious, philosophical, political leanings into this ecosystem. And so this is part of the reasons why we're experiencing the honest skepticism of certain populations. I introduced that into the literature, as I said, in the year 2012. So the challenges to recruit into clinical trials is here with us now. And it may be due to cultural and linguistic differences, which make communication and engagement daunting. It may be part of awareness of appropriate clinical trials due to the absence of tailoring outreach and education. I do my heart to Ms. Peggy Connolly, because I know that she does a fair amount of work in that area with the community. Or maybe barriers to entry and access due to certain socioeconomic status, the transportation, and a good bit of trust issue as well. So we have challenges that are keeping us really from trying to do well what we wish to do. So I thought I would illustrate the reason why we have these historical and systemic reasons for mistrust. I just pulled out 4 of them here. The one I like for us to think about together is the case of Mr. Vatus Hardiman, which was involved in the United States government human radiation experiment at Lyle's Consolidated School, Lyle Station, Indiana in 1927. And then there is the infamous USPHS study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male at Tuskegee that happened in 1932, from 1932 to 1972. And then, of course, there is the Henrietta Lacks issue with the John Hopkins Hospital, Baltimore, Maryland. And then last that I chose to use is the Havasupai Indians versus Arizona State University Board of Regents case. Now, some of you may be familiar with this, but I just want to use a bit of the first 2 to illustrate what I'm getting at here. Now, let's see. Here is Mr. Vitus Wilborn. Now, I am going to try to stop sharing this screen and let the man talk himself. On this screen, he's no longer here with us, but he left us a message that I think that we need to hear. Ringworm issue. Children were at school were made to go through a particular kind of treatment. That's when we were still trying to figure out how best can we cure this skin disease. I'll let you hear from Mr. Vatus Hardiman himself. Let's see. I need to find a way to choose. Choose this now. And can somebody help me out there with this, or maybe I should just go back and.
Yeah. So can you turn the start the load up the video and then share the screen and get that and then hit play?
Okay, hold on a minute. Let me see. Let me see. It just might work from here, because I think I just play it from here and see.
I think that'll work.
Work. Oops. Okay. It's going now. Can you hear it?
No, we're not getting the video.
To get out, then go back to.
You have to get out of sharing this screen and get back into the video.
Okay. All right. Okay. Excuse my. Let's see here.
And then once
All
you
right,
get the video
stop
sharing,
sharing. Okay, stop sharing.
and then load the video
Go
and then hit
back,
share
load the
for that.
video. All right. It should work now. Can you
There we
see
go.
it?
Yes.
Okay. Hmm. You can see it, but you can't hear it.
So the video isn't running on our end?
Oh, it's not running on your end?
No, it's not.
Okay, let's see. This after Sodeke. Stop sharing. Let's try one more time, and then we will. Maybe it's the one that is not. Hmm.
We'll send out the link and
Yeah.
people can see it after the seminar.
Oh, okay. Well,
So what we'll do, Dr. Sodeke, is we'll send the
Yes.
links out and people can see
send,
it after the seminar.
yeah, if you
Okay.
send the link out,
Yeah.
that will be great. All right, sorry about that. But we'll go back to the slide here then, and maybe stop that because it's still playing. Okay, we're back to the screen. Can you see my slide here now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, so it's just a horrific experiment, okay, that left this man, his scalp all heated up. I wish you could have heard his voice say, he heard the nurse say, "Oh my goodness, I gave him too much." The radiation burned his scalp, and you'd have to see it, had to live with that for 80 years. Many people wondered why he was either wearing wig or wearing a cap. But he made it through life, lived 80 good years, and then passed on, living he was a very frugal person, left a whole lot of his money to his church for education. When I was preparing for this talk, I went to check the origin of Tufts University, and I see Mr. Tuft there as championing the creation of the school many years ago. All right. So if you had had an opportunity to actually walk through that, have you listened to the, say the 3.5 minutes video, I would have asked you what was concerning to you in this. And you would have noted that transparency was questionable. So that was not done the way they should have done it. Relevant information about risks for participating was not done. There were some terms that were used that little as he was, he didn't understand, but he said, repeated what he heard. These are the things that make folks a little weary about trusting. So physical harm was definitely inflicted. I'm sure going around not the way he would have loved to, inflicted emotional and dignitary harm as well. So if there's such a person is leery of trusting the medical establishment or researchers, it would be most appropriate is the point that I'm trying to to make. And then, of course, I wanted you to see these two. I'm not sure whether this is going to play as well, but maybe we will try it. Is the infamous United States Public Health Service study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male that occurred in Tuskegee from 1932 to 1972. Some 624 men or so, 427 with syphilis and 185 without. It was a well constructed kind of research. It was culturally appropriate. They pulled in the right folks to do it, except that they didn't tell them that they had syphilis. They told them they had bad blood. And it got worse when penicillin became the standard treatment. They still prevented those that were quote unquote enrolled in the study, unbeknownst to them. They still prevented them from getting it. That they were taking the public outrage stimulated the stopping or halting of the study in 1972. There was a lawsuit, but that was settled out of court. And I just wanted to see if we can, yeah, so I need to stop sharing these two. Let me start it first and then share it. Let's see if it will work.
So Dr. Sodeke, I've actually
Yes.
put the links to the videos in the chat for everyone to download and they can watch them.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Well, all right. If that's, let's see. If it doesn't work, we just have to do it that way, the way you said. Right, okay. Thank you for putting the thing in the chat in the chat box so that they can watch it. We just press on here in the interest of time. It's there on my screen. Okay. Ugh. You still can't hear it, right?
Correct. Yeah, so
Mhm.
let's just go back to the slides because I think we're
Okay.
taking a little too much time, please.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the slide, and we'll continue from there. So if we had gone through these, I would have also asked you the same kind of questions, and maybe you would have come up with. You can see the slide, right? Hello? Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. I can't see anything from here except the slide that I'm looking at. Okay. I would have allowed us to go through these list of things and come up with what you thought was concerning about the short 4 minutes of about 20 minutes of video clip there. And you would have seen that the things listed here on the slide for you are the things that were very, very concerning. So if you are wondering about why people are so hesitant about joining any research or clinical trials for that matter, these are some of the reasons why. I made a note of another case, which is the Mrs. Henrietta Lacks case. Some of you may be familiar with that as well. Some of our cells were taken from Johns Hopkins, and before we knew it, she didn't even know what was going on. Neither did the family know what was going on. We just knew that if we did practical biology in the biology lab, we used Henrietta Lacks cells. It wasn't called Henrietta Lacks cell, it was the HeLa cell. That was it, you know. Lo and behold, it did come from somebody, and that person, you are looking at the picture. And I would have asked you what was troubling to you if you had time, and we would have come up with this list of things that, just as I did with the last cases. The fourth one that I wanted to illustrate with this is this case of the Havasupai tribe with the Arizona State University researcher who went into the tribe wanting to help them because they have high rate of diabetes amongst them. Not only did the researchers study diabetes, they also study other things, including schizophrenia, and suggesting to them after they did all the study that they didn't come from where they thought they came from. And so Carletta to Lucy was attending ESU when she had a presentation made by someone doing her doctoral defense, and he thought it sounded too familiar to be true. So if we had the opportunity to do it, I would have had you look at blood journey tape itself. So the link will be shared with you, but I would have asked you after that to think with me through the things that are particularly troubling and concerning to you. And perhaps we would have come up with this list of things, the idea of respect for persons, the participant autonomy, community values, culture, deception by research investigators, the use of research terms that might have been unfamiliar with the community, some trust issue there. The case was in court for 10 years, actually, and then finally settled. And so all the blood that had been stored, you see, the tribe believed that until they have been able to do their ritual to have the soul of the departed to rest, because they believe that this spirit, this soul is still in the blood until it is laid to rest by their own kind of ritual. So that's the sort of thing that we don't pay attention to, but things have changed now. And so we have all these regulations and things to guide us. DHHS 45 CFR 46, Code of Federal Regulations. Those of you that are in institutional review board, scientific integrity, the HIPAA issue, certificate of confidentiality. You will be familiar with all these things that we have in place. But regulations is one thing. Actually doing the morally right thing is another. All right. So in the year 2000, Emmanuel, Wendell, and Grady, three others, actually came up with a number of pointed instructions, if you will, things that we must pay attention to that make scientific research ethical. And I show you the list of these things you must be careful about the value of the research, scientific validity. These are the things that we now check instantly when the researchers put a proposal in front of us, right? Reasonable compensation and incentive. And so many of you may already have been doing all of this. Informed consent for sure, respect for person as well. Yeah, I put this slide there just to suggest to you that this needs to be an integrative, collaborative endeavor if we want to if we want to experience the kind of outcome that we have been hoping for. The community has to be taken very seriously. They have to be in a place where they want to collaborate with the research staff. The research staff certainly do not have all the answers. If you want community people to participate, you essentially have to find a way to get to them, because it is just not realistic to expect that they will come to you. The study sponsors are involved in this as well, and so are the Institutional Review Board, and yes, the Community Research Advisory Board as well, as the case may be. So that's why I put that slide there. I thought I'll show you some programs that I'm familiar with that have made some strides in these recruitment and retention issues. Some of you might be familiar with the All of Us research program. It's an ambitious precision medicine project by NIH that aims to recruit over 1 million United States residents representing diverse ethnic, cultural, and socioeconomic backgrounds. I put it there, joinallofus.org, those of you that want to check it out. And I put Dr. Karim Watson just to uplift him. He's the community engagement lead at the national level. And I put the PI for the hub of the Southern All of Us network, Dr. Bruce Koff at UAB, and Dr. Dina Avery, who is the community engagement co-director there. What sort of challenges have we had to face there in the Birmingham southeast area of Alabama? Well, this historical mistrust among minorities is still palpable, logistical barriers to participation. And here is how we have tried to address those at the national level, as well as within the Southern All of Us network. We've had to tailor our approaches in community engagement. We had to be transparent in terms of the way we say things if we want ourselves understood. We had to collaborate with community-based advisors and advocates. We had to maintain sustained relationship with them. We had to use technological innovations like CADI, that's the calling by telephone, and trying to maintain the relationship after we get them to agree to participate. There are policy innovations that we've had to tinker with and tailor to in order to improve participation and then, of course, return of actionable results. Milestone recruitment goals are being met. That's why I hold that up as something that you might want to look into and say, how did they do it? And then I'm also familiar with the Alabama Genomic Health Initiative, also headed by Dr. Bruce Koff and Dr. Dina Avery. This is a statewide initiative led by UAB, want to improve healthcare through genomic research, genomic medicine, focusing particularly on rural and underserved populations. What kind of challenges did we have to address? Accessibility was a biggie in there, and awareness issues as well. How we did it, free genetic testing offered at no cost there, and it comes with genetic counselors as well. Mobile health units were used to stay in touch and invite distant participants. We had to go to them rather than be expecting them to come to us. Some did through word of mouth, and many other ways in which they were informed. We've had to collaborate with local physicians in terms of return of actionable results. And then I put this one there. The Sickle Cell Disease Association of America is another one you want to look at as a success kind of program in their recruitment and retention efforts. And of course, those challenges are there. The awareness of trial types and the IRB review and approval, very rigorous, setting clear eligibility criteria that could be understood, and logistical issues as well, access, compensation, time, and timing issues for the clinicians so that they can put it in within their workflow. The key strategy, again, collaboration and communication, expansion of reach to adults and pediatric population, and of course, compensation. Recruitment from inpatient services, actually they go in and collaborate with the physicians there. We've had to do that too in AGHI. So I thought that as I thought through these, I put together what you might call, at least in my mind, what you might call a framework of sorts, if one were to use integrated bioethics lens to look at this. I don't know how many times I have invoked the words community, cultural competence, cultural sensitivity, but it seems to me that the first thing to do is to, if you are going to work with people that would not necessarily think like you think, have reasons to believe that nothing good can come out of research, you would want to study that sense, be sensitive to those feelings and thoughts, and be ready to acknowledge them and engage them in conversation through very sensitive methods of community engagement and involvement before you even talk about trying to recruit them into clinical trials. You would need to be transparent, step 3, and you need to have an ongoing communication in order to sustain the relationship that you may have built. There are serious ethical considerations in terms of trust and trustworthiness, accessibility and convenience. make it as easy as possible for them to want to participate. And of course, when we recruit, we just don't want to recruit, we want to retain as well. Offer incentives and compensation, and then, go around again, the loop. And you have to do this again and again and again, almost trying to be flexible to fit in into people's schedule and nuances of how they like to be approached in order to make a dent in what is causing us real headache in terms of recruitment into our research work. So hopefully, we've been able to use the idea of integrative bioethics to drive the discussion. Again, I apologize for not being able to get through the video clips. The two were riveting. Those who left it behind wanted us to listen to it and let us be informed by what the message they left us with. So hopefully we've been able to highlight the challenges to participation in clinical trials. We've used the 4 paradigmatic cases to explain to you why historical and systemic reasons might be there for the honest skepticism of certain groups of people about clinical trials. We explored together the demands of ethical clinical research and participation. Hopefully, we'll discuss some strategies for successful recruitment of historically underrepresented groups. We've suggested a framework to move forward. This is where I learned. I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to attend this conversation. I wish we could have had a conversation, more in-depth interaction with you. But perhaps you have put some of your questions in the chat box so that we can now attend to some of those questions within the time we have left. If you can reach Ms. Peggy Connolly, you can reach me if we don't get to your question today. I'm all ears now. Dr. Jack.
Thank you very much for that very important presentation. And I think we have a couple of questions already populating the chat. And the first is from Larry Parnell, and he asks, in your 7-part framework for successful engagement and participation within a community, where do you most often see a break between community members and researchers?
I see a break. When he says a break, let me see how I understand that. A break in conversation or communication. If you say a break in communication, that can happen. It can happen because once you show up in the community, you are a privileged person. They actually think that you know what you know, right? But what you don't know is what they know as well. So failure to treat community members and interact with them as people who have the kind of knowledge that you need in order to work within that community. Failure to do that is a big mistake. that's the way I see the question, unless the question means a different thing.
We'll wait for Larry to come back to see if that
Yeah.
that addressed his question. Next question comes from Larry did come back and said thank you. So
Oh,
you've
all
done
right.
it. Sarah Booth, first of all, she says thank you for an interesting talk and asks, what are your thoughts of reporting out results back to study participants? What, in your experience, is the best format?
Oh my, that is a great question. And we're still wrestling with quote unquote what you call the best format, right? It will depend on what result is it, and whether or not the person really want the result or not, whether it will be meaningful to the person or not. So it's not just, okay, return the result. What results? What would be the meaning of the result for the person? Is it an actionable result? If it's actionable result, then who's going to do the interpretation? Who's going to do the follow through? Okay, so the jury is still out on what the best method is. The best method will have to do with the kind of result that it is. I mean, returning genetics result, for example, would be different from returning results for, let's say, nutritional research, taste research, all the kinds of social, political type of research. So we need to tailor the method of returning result to the kind of result and the particular use that we expect, for that result to be put. Otherwise, that's why it sounds like a simple question, but it isn't, because you have to tailor your method to the kind of result that it is and the meaningfulness of that result to the recipient. By the way, I am assuming that they have already said, yeah, I want to know the result, because some people don't want to know. And if they don't want to know, that's all right too.
We
Dr. Booth, I'm not sure. Dr. Booth, did I answer your question?
We have another question, which I think is not, it's from Sarah's computer, but I think it's from Andrea Martinho. And again, it says, thank you for this wonderful talk. And asks the question, I would like to ask how we can ensure that minorities and underprivileged populations can be involved and benefit from the new precision nutrition approaches. I was going to ask a similar question. Basically, we get these advances in precision nutrition or precision medicine overall, but how do we ensure that those advances actually reach, again, these historically underserved populations?
Okay, so to ensure, that's a good question. I must tell you that. We cannot stop ensuring. So it's not a short haul. It's a long haul, right? You want to ensure that somebody gets the benefit because you know what the benefits of these are. It's not like they don't know, but it may not be the most important thing in their life for now, right? It may be where they are going to find the next meal. If it is the case that the best fruits that you are recommending and the best foods, vegetables and all that, it's like 20 miles away. They're going to grab whatever the fatty food that is within the distance that they can walk to. not drive to, because they don't have their means of doing that. So while we are busy and there's nothing absolutely wrong with trying to figure out the best way to make sure that they benefit from it, we have to also realize that it cannot be a one-shot affair. See, wanting to work with the community have to be staying with the community. And once that gets into it, I get it, we're hamstrung with the timing of our research, right? Maybe it's 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, and then we are done, right? But it cannot be like that if we want them to get the benefits, right? We have to take some time to get to know them first, and we have to take some time to sell the benefits to them. And say, you see, this is how it can happen. But if someone is used to being satisfied with a particular kind of food, they have their own food culture as well. It's what we are suggesting to them, taking into consideration that kind of food culture. So there's a real difficult situation when we set up the idea that we need to ensure, great idea, but it's going to take a lot of work to try to do that. And this might be important and significant work to do. But I'm just saying it cannot be for the short run. It has to be for the long run. If you are willing to do that, then it will happen.
Okay, and we have one final question, one other question from Saidas. And she asks, as you know, AI has come to stay. What concerns you most about AI and ethics and human participation in research, and in particular for those who are at UBR?
Yes, I think I thought that will come up. Artificial intelligence has a number of tools now that have been used in cutting down on repetitive work, that even trying to ascertain who meets the eligibility criteria by setting up some algorithm and training the machine with some specific data, right? And the prediction is relied on, right? You ask me, what is troubling to me? First of all, AI has a lot of potential, but then we must not miss the harm that can be caused if we fail to see that some people will be left out because they are in this technology divide. So it has to be supported by a lot of education, raising of awareness. And as I said, we're hamstrung by a research that ends when in fact the community is just getting warmed up to the idea that AI is here. I'm in spaces, I'm giving conferences, I'm giving seminars too about, look, this thing is here. It's not going anywhere. But notice that the data, the prediction that it uses to make prediction, the data that it uses to make predictions, those predictions are just as good as the quality of the data. So the question is, where is the data coming from? If it's not coming from the community or who are already underrepresented and underserved, well, there will be what we call data missingness. Yeah, some people say they can do some mathematical calculation, but to me, it's just like you want a straight line graph, so you forget all of those outlier points so that your data can look better, right? They say if you train the machine with some set of data and then you add more, it learns and it becomes better and better and better. Yeah, but you still have to get the data. And so the data is as important and is incomplete if it leaves out data from these people that have been underrepresented, minoritized, disadvantaged. A whole lot of things have to be taken into consideration. And I'm doing what I can to call the attention of the developers, the designers, the trainers, the users to this thing and say, look, okay, I get that. It can do this, and that. But what about this? Oh, we haven't thought about that. Well, you should have, because it's going to have an impact on the data you are going to use to train the machine. And if that data is deficient, then your prediction is not trustworthy. Did I answer that question?
I think
Yeah, you got me going now, right? I'm very passionate about AI. It has a lot of, it has a lot of potential, but it also has some that we should pause and think very seriously.
we have,
Regulations alone can't do it. Okay, so that's why the morally right thing to do is still up to you and me to say, look, I don't trust that data unless you tell me exactly where it's from. Why? Because I know what's going to be next and what's going to be the result, right? Yes, sir.
we have one more question from Kira Taylor. And she thanks you very much for your talk and says that the examples you provided of failures in execution of clinical trials or clinical research, and notes the HeLa cell and the syphilis study, were focused more domestically. Would your framework for execution of ethical clinical trials be equally as effective in global health space? Are there other considerations we should make when working within low and middle income countries?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I think that I put a slide there that shows the SEOM that gives appropriate direction and guidance on doing work beyond the borders of the United States. Is the Council for, I'm going to now miss it now, Council for International Organization for Medical Sciences, SEOMS guidelines. If the questioner goes on and puts that SEOMS, SIOMS, in the search box, you will see a whole volume of set of guidelines that is supposed to assist researchers who are going to work beyond the borders of the United States. Yes, low and middle income countries as well. So there is already standards out there that one can draw on. They are, also have their IRB, they call it ethics board, there to look into matters as well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much again for a very, I think, very important topic, discussing a very important topic, and thank you for taking the time to present that to us today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jack, and thank you, audience. Blessings to all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Sodeke.
Thank you.